Well, let's pick up now with British-Iranian journalist SAHAR ZAND, who's in the studio this evening. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in. I know you've been monitoring very closely Iranian state TV. Very hard, of course, to get official information out of Iran, so we rely on what's being reported on state television. What have you picked up on?
Of course, before I answer that question, at the back of what you just said about different neighbouring countries offering their support to Iran, Iraq has also offered its support, especially with the rescue mission, and we know that Iraq is just across the border, meaning that their support in the search and rescue operation would be very helpful. As you alluded to yourself, media and press in Iran is censored and very heavily controlled, so it's very hard to get any information out of Iran, and the information that we do get, we have to take with a pinch of salt. This news has only come out in the past few hours, so we still know very little. But what we do know so far, according to various Iranian sources, as well as one semi-official source, which tends to give us a good understanding of what's happening on the ground, but it's not necessarily an official confirmation of what's happened. We do know that there was a convoy of 3 helicopters, including one with President Raisi and Iran's foreign minister on board. And it's emerging officially right now that Raisi was indeed in one of the helicopters that had to have a hard, rough landing. Now, what we don't know is what has happened to this helicopter, where it's even at, but we know that there is a huge rescue operation taking place. The head of Iran's Red Crescent, which is helping the rescue operation, said that 40 different teams are actually in the area searching. But this area is in northeastern Iran, in the East Azerbaijan region, which is very mountainous with heavy woodlands. Today, it's been a particularly bad weather. It's been very rainy, very foggy. And right now in Iran, it's dark, it's nighttime, making this search operation even harder.
We know that in the last sort of half an hour or so, we've heard that contact has been made with 2 people on board the helicopter, one a crew member and the other a passenger. But certainly on state TV, as far as you're aware, no more information than that about who these 2 individuals might be, other than contact has been made.
Yes, there is also a lot of speculation from different news agencies that are covering Iran. And what I do know is that Iranian officials have just released a warning threatening anyone who spreads any misinformation or any rumours about what's happening, saying that they're controlling, policing social media very carefully. And for anyone who dares step outside of that line, which according to them would cause a lot more chaos. We know that over the past 2 years there has been widespread protests in Iran, which has been met with crackdown, that they would be cracking down on anyone who spreads these rumours on social media. It's interesting because I was talking to a few of my journalist friends who cover Iranian affairs for various news publications around the world, including one in France. And she was telling me that they have already written reports assuming that Raisi has died, but they're basically waiting for the confirmation to come before they publish it. So this is something that's very much being anticipated. And when I was watching Iranian media outside of Iran, which covers the news extensively, we know that a lot of the journalists have been threatened because they basically covered things that they don't, that the Iranian regime perhaps doesn't want out. Most of these conversations are around what would happen if Raisi actually does die.
Yeah, and we know that he is an incredibly divisive figure in Iran. How easy is it for people to keep in touch on social media without fear of being monitored or being watched? Are there ways using certain apps that people can speak to each other, that people can monitor affairs independently of the state?
Yes, social media played a very crucial part in helping the widespread protests that took place across Iran over the past 2 years in enabling these. Now, the Islamic Republic knows it. They went out of their way to make sure that they stop these protests however they could. And that, of course, included monitoring and policing these social media channels. But people have been very smart about it. We know that there was an internet shutdown, but all social media channels were blocked. But a lot of Iranians, we know, basically through VPNs, through various methods, managed to still get on these channels. But they have to be very careful. And in the past, I've been in touch with a lot of the protest leaders that are making plans for, waiting for that next spark. And they tell me that they speak through different apps that are encrypted because nobody feels safe to be able to speak openly. And we know from the 9 executions so far since the death of Mahsa Amini and hundreds that were killed, that the Islamic Republic is after anyone who dares say anything against them.
Yeah, we're just hearing in the last few seconds, as you've been talking, that the Iranian president's helicopter has now been found by search teams, that according to state television. A bit earlier, we heard that contact had been made with the helicopter, contact between a member of the crew and also one of the passengers on board. Well, now, in the last few moments, we have heard that the helicopter has been found. The search area is very difficult. It is dark, as you can see. It's been very foggy. It's been raining hard. It's a mountainous area. It is an area that's heavily wooded as well. But they will be pleased to know that the helicopter has been found. So it may well be in the next few minutes that we get an update on the condition of those on board. But as you've been saying, that message will be heavily censored and we will only get to hear what the regime wants us to hear.
Exactly. And it's important to bear in mind that whatever happens to Raisi, the state of affairs isn't going to change in Iran. Raisi, as the previous report alluded to, is an ultra-conservative hardliner from Khamenei's decades-long loyalty gang, that as many Iranians call it. And if anything was to happen to him, first of all, the vice president is basically more of the same as him, but still Khamenei will get to decide whether or not he wants him to come and take control. And if not, again, Khamenei will choose the next guy. So even though this is a huge news and it's very significant, even if Raisi was not to return to the office, either because of injuries or because of death or any other reason, state of affairs in Iran will not change. That is how the whole system is organised and arranged.
That's very interesting. And do you get any sense at all from speaking to contacts there, perhaps young people, perhaps people who did protest in the last year or two, do you get any sense that this could make a difference, that there could be any sort of other uprising if he is declared to have died?
No, I said, no. It would just be the same. When he was elected, he was running against his opponent, who was a more moderate candidate. And a lot of the people that I am talking to actually voted for the other one, even though Iranians did generally boycott the elections because essentially they feel like their votes don't count. But they did vote for the other opponent, but still Raisi was elected, which led to even more protests. So people aren't optimistic that this would make any difference to the general state of affairs.
OK, well, I know you're monitoring things closely through those state TV channels, so we'll let you get back to that. But for the moment, thank you very much, British-Iranian journalist SAHAR ZAND.